Testing, testing, 1, 2. Check test, 1, 2. Testing, 1, 2. Check test.
Go ahead.
One bitter now two.
Do it again.
I can't hear it.
Do it louder.
One bitter now two.
Good job. You can hear it. Do it.
I can't.
You say 1 bitter now 2.
Do it.
One bitter now two.
Now 2 bitter. Now 3.
Yeah,
1 bitter. Now 2. Now 2 bitter. Now 3. Do it.
I want you to talk in the microphone.
1 bitter now 2. Now 2 bitter now 3.
See? Just do that.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to the 2026 Market Beef Show here at the 2026 Canyon County Fair. I'd like to introduce our judge for today. We have Mr. Dakota David. Is from Pilot Point, Texas, where he operates a small club cattle operation as well as Aqua Pro Health Plus, a livestock probiotic company with his family. He just finished judging at Texas Tech in Lubbock, Texas, where he's part of the livestock judging team there. He was a member of the high team at Oklahoma City, Denver, Fort Worth, San Antonio, Exarban, and Kansas City. Also was awarded in the top 10 individual at multiple of those contests. Prior to his senior college, Dakota went to South Plains College in Levelland, Texas, where he was the high individual in San Antonio and was top 10 at Louisville and earned numerous other honors. Folks ringside, put your hands together for Mr. Dakota David, our 2026 Market Beef Judge. This will be your Class 1 in the lightweight division. These steers range from 1069 to 1198.
Well, good afternoon, guys. Certainly a pleasure to get to be here with you this afternoon, and I look forward to getting sort through your stock. But most importantly, I look forward to the opportunity to get to work with your young people over the duration in the next couple of days. And as we get into your first class here on the Beef Show side of things, certainly not one that I thought was just easy to put together there in my mind, but certainly I think the young man steer right here in front of me needs to win. You know, in a perfect world, we relax him in his ankle ever so slightly and make him a bit softer in terms of his body type. But when you get your hands on that one, it's evident that's probably the biggest top, stoutest steer, the most rugged and durable Aaron in terms of his foundation. Still, when the young man gets him collected here from the profile, still got a neat neck set, a good look up front. Still think one that just wins rather handedly in my mind. I think 2, 3, and 4 certainly have some discussion in my mind because the entire class, I think those are probably my favorite cattle in terms of a structure standpoint. I think with that being said, then the young lady that's going to go on ahead and be second, it just does so with a little bit more bulk, a little bit more power when you step right in behind them in relation to the ones ahead. Big body, practical steer that's got a good spread up high and from behind. I think in relation to the one that's going to go on ahead and win. Reading just a nickel planer in the way he's presented up front, just a little too soft in the way he handles over his 12th and 13th, but still one that does a lot of things right in my mind. Congratulations to that young lady. A lot of the same can be said for the young man Hereford steer that's going to go on ahead and be second. From his shoulders back, a lot to like. That one's dead level down his top line. Good body steer that gets out and goes with plenty of flexibility. I think up front tells a story for me, just a little plain, just a little stale in terms of his crest through the forward of his chest, and with that, just a bit more piquant in the way his shape is laid onto his skeleton up high, but still one that does a lot of things right. Young lady steer that's going to come in behind him, one that you love from the side. Long neck, dead level in terms of his lines. Good body steer that's really loose and limber when we set him into motion. Just when you step running behind him, however, just maybe leaves you wishing there was just a little bit more, a little flatter in his heart and forerib, a little more closed up. When you start him through his pin set, it opened that guy up to run with what's ahead of him. Young man's got a good blue steer. It's going to come in next. One that probably is just a little rounder body, is just a little stouter in terms of his hip and bone work on the cattle, is just right ahead of him. For me, his structure is what gives him problems. A little straighter in his shoulder, a little tighter in his spine, causes him to get just a little rounder here from the profile. Young man's doing a good job hanging with his black steer. It's going to round us out. Another good handling steer. That the young man's done an awesome job getting him fed. One that just needs to be opened up, freshened up, and needs to see just a little sounder, better balance on what's ahead. Good group of them. Got a good crowd ringside. If you would, that's how these kids' efforts go unnoticed. Let's give them a round of applause.
Do you want?
Placings in Class 1. In first place, Rex Abrams with the blue. In second place, Tegan Sells with the blue. In third place, Cole Funky with a blue. In fourth place, Elizabeth DeFries with a red. In fifth place, Garrett Lemrick with a red. And in sixth place, Bradford Smith with a red. Next in the ring, we have lightweight Class 2, Amelia Vanderplug William Dunn, Alyssa McNeese, Paisley Martin, Kayla Abrams, and Nathan DeFries. All steers ranging between 1,228 pounds and 1,248 pounds.
Well, another good group of them here as we get in your class 2 here of your steer show, and a good pair of them here on the front end of things. You know, both these cattle are probably just the most opened up, the densest in their general makeup. In a lighter weight setting, probably the cattle that just look the closest, look the most like fat steers, here in this particular grouping of them. I think between the pair, young ladies, orange and white steer, it's going to win just reading the soundness amongst them. Just in relation to one that's second, much better in the way he sat there through his knee and shoulder blade, asking him to go. He set down deeper in terms of his heel and gets out and goes with a little bit more flex there to his pasture. And still one here from the side. It's perfect in terms of his balance. A big rib kind of steer that just gives off as a balance. Bulky kind of image, one that you like quite well. Young lady steer, it's going to be second, probably is just a little broader in the way he opens up out of the backside of the shoulder. Probably is just a little stouter in terms of his upper hip and stifle, but at the same time, I'll read that one just a little bit more compact in his kind. Little shorter hip, a little more restricted off his rear leg, and the same can be said up front. You seem to make that guy a little looser structured, make him just a little bit neater up front, to run with the one ahead, one whose power parts are certainly commendable in this particular grouping of them. Young lady's red steer, it's going to come out here in third. One you like some parts about. That's a huge footed, big bone type of steer. It's got a really good shape, running on the top side of the skeleton. Really high cutability steer. But this one that I think we need to soften up, make him a bit more practical. It's a little tighter in terms of his heart, a little tighter in terms of his flank, and his rear leg reads the same way. I just read that guy, it's a little too coarse, a little too pulled up on his structure. Don't know what's ahead, but one whose cutability is certainly good. You know, he does a good job with a white-footed steer here coming next. One who's awesome in terms of his bulk, one who's awesome in terms of his body. I need to make that guy just a little bit different in the way he tracks off his rear leg. Once I get outside of the skeleton ever so slightly, we'll relax him in the center portion of his spine and level him out of his hip. But then with that, as much heat as he has up high, they give him a shot more bone to balance like the ones ahead. Tough pair of them that are going to round us out. Got the young man's calf here that's going to go on ahead and come down next with just a little stouter, just a little bit more muscular down his top and out of his hip in relation to ones ahead. They'll read that one a little too hollow, a little too frail and fragile in terms of his makeup. Need to make that one a shot denser, give him a bit more bulk on what's ahead. Young man's done a good job with this steer that's coming out, that's going to round out the class. Love his lines here from the profile, neat neck. Certainly has some daylight underneath him. 1, 2. It's just a little too hard-bodied, a little too frail and upright off either end of the skeleton to go with what's ahead. Another good group of them, if you will. Let's give these kids a round of applause and show them our appreciation.
Placings for Class 2 are as follows. Alyssa McNeese in first with a purple ribbon. In second place, Amelia Vanderplug with a purple. In third, Paisley Martin with a blue. In fourth, Kayla Abrams with a blue. In fifth, Nathan DeFries with a red. And in sixth, William Dunn with a red. In the ring now, we have lightweight class number 3. We have Chase Funky with a steer weighing 1258. Easton Martin with a steer weighing 1258. Rena Sells with a steer weighing 1266. Jonathan Fuller with a steer weighing 1267. Jace Sells with a steer weighing 1270. And Laney Martin with a steer weighing 1270.
tougher class here as we progressed in a heavier weight here in your steer show, and probably a class, as I showed you, as it probably tugs on my heartstrings just a little bit because some cattle closer towards the front that have glaring structural issues, but with that, still think they're in the higher quality end of things here in this particular grouping of them. Young ladies chromed up steer is going to end up winning this class. I'll be the first to tell you, we got to fix his knee. He's just a little too upright and over in terms of his front structure, wants to roll out and twist a little bit on his rear leg. But past that, I think that's just the highest quality one that puts the most good together in this particular grouping of them. In relation to the one that's going to go on ahead and be second, so much rounder body, so much more shapely when you study him out of the backside of his blade, so much stouter when you study him out of his hip. And versus the one that's going to be in third, better bodied steer, but just so much more practical in terms of this kind of cattle that still has a good look when you study him there from the side. Like we talked about, need to fix his front structure, need to alter his rear feet, so Colin sound enough to win this particular grouping. Congratulations to that young lady. You know, I love the kind of cattle the young man's red and white steer coming in second represents. That's a good bodied steer, and of the ones on the top end, he is the soundest structure off either end of the skeleton, really loose and limber in the way he takes to the surface. And then why he beats the one that's going to go ahead and be third, reading so much softer in terms of his rear rib and flank, so much more my kind of cattle in that regard in relation to the one that wins, reading just too plain. A little too plain up through his head, neck, and chest, a little softer when you get your hands on him, and you just freshen that guy up to go on ahead and be a commanding class winner here in this drive of him. Young man's done a good job. This dude, it's going to go on ahead and be third, and there's pieces of him that you got to like. He's rope neck, dead level down his top line, and when you get your hands on him, got a really good shape for one that color. You know, like we talked about, that guy's just too hard in terms of his kind, a little shallower in terms of his heart, tighter in terms of his flank. We need to see him just a bit sounder with a bit more flex injected off either end of his skeleton. Young lady's doing a good job with the Hereford Mark steer here coming out next. One that's practical on his kind. One's got a good spread up high and from behind. For me, that one just gets a little too round in terms of his build, straighter shoulder, tighter spines here that wants to dump his pins when we set him into motion. Got a tough pair of them that's going to go on ahead and round us out. The young man steer that's going to go on ahead and beat the young man's black steer that rounds us out. And it's a shot more shape when you study him on the backside of his shoulder and carries it just a little bit broader out of his hip and down to his stifle, you know, in comparison. That one is just a little flat in terms of his heart and forward, just a little fragile and frail in the way he's put together. Young man's got a good steer coming out next. He's certainly done a good job with. That's a good bodied, sound structured steer. The treat him a little over the head. From a condition standpoint at this weight, that's another one too. We need to amp up from a bone and foot size standpoint. Need to open him up through and through. Another good class. You know, certainly some discussion to be had. Just my opinion today. If you would, let's show these young people a good round of applause.
Placings in Class 3 are as follows. In first place, Laney Martin with a blue. In second place, Jace Sells with a blue. In third place, Easton Martin with a blue. In fourth place, Rena Sells with a red. In fifth place, Chase Funky with a red. And in sixth place, Jonathan Fuller with a red. Now coming into the ring, we have our lightweight division runoff. Representing Class 1 in the lightweight division runoff is Rex Abrams. and Tegan Sells. Representing Class 2 is Alyssa McNeese and Amelia Vanderplug. Representing Class 3, Lainey Martin and Jace Sells.
What a great way to get us kicked off here, your first division. If you would, let's fire up the applause and show these young people our appreciation. You know, I certainly didn't get to tread lightly here in this particular division because there were certainly areas in each and every class where you had to make a call and decide where you wanted to be when the dust settles. I'm very pleased with the way things got put together as we get back out here in your drive. And go ahead and talk them just briefly here. The young man still that wins Class 1, you know, like we talked about, need to fix his ankle, need to tuck him down in terms of his flank line. Just thought in that particular grouping, had the most quality through and through. Probably just the neatest looking in the way he's put together up front. Probably just the stoutest, the most muscular up either end of the skeleton, you know, and although we could tweak his ankle, so I thought that was a loose striding steer that's got the right kind of angles when you set him here on the plant. Young lady steer that was second in that class, good body, practical, productive kind of steer, just a little plain in general and his overall makeup. And then the guy, the Waters guy, just a little deeper when we got in the class 2. I thought a pair of cattle, they were more alike than they were different. Those are both big red, dense made kind of cattle that are awesome in the way they're put together in terms of a balance and bulk standpoint. I think about his orange and white still just a little sounder up front, just a little better in terms of his rear foot and the way he got out and traveled. Young lady steer probably was, that was second, probably was just a little stouter, just a little plainer. Need to alter him just a little bit more structurally. You know, like we talked about in that last class, probably, you know, some areas that just a bit more glaring than others. You know, we need to fix the young lady's calf's knee like we talked about, but I still thought that was the highest quality steer to put the most good together. Young man's steer was certainly sounder. That was second to him. Again, was just a little plainer in the way he's put together. You know, so with that being said, there was a pair of them that I thought were very competitive coming out of their class when they get back out here. I still think those are the two that I'm most comfortable standing behind and landing on in this particular division. The pair out of Class 2 will be your champion in reserve. Congratulations to both those young ladies.
Your champion in the lightweight division goes to Alyssa McNeese. In reserve goes to Amelia Vanderplug. Coming into the ring now, we have our first class in our middleweight division. We have Ronix Maddock with a steer weighing 1278, JC Scholl with a steer weighing 1280, Hans Eidsinga with a steer weighing 1289, Odin Bueller with a steer weighing 1295, and Lily Blank with a steer weighing 1303.
Well, a very, very good way to get us kicked off here in your next division. You know, probably just of what we got thus far, probably this class probably comes together in my mind just a little easier than any of the rest of them that we've had today. And the young man steer up front's very, very good. I think if you want one that's very, very good looking up front, there he is. But yet still has the right kind of body shape, the right kind of productivity there in terms of his rib cage, and still got the right kind of power when you step right in behind him. There he is. You know, in a perfect world, maybe we can alter his rear feet ever so slightly and make him just a little bit more comfortable out here. But I still think that's one that's sound enough. Very, very good in the way he's put together here from the profile. I like that one a good deal. Congratulations to that young man. I thought from there on, the young ladies, Kev in second, fell in place just as quickly. I love that one's look and the way he's put together up front. That's one that's a big body, sound structured kind of steer that really gets out of the ring and moves like you like to, you know, in relation to a couple of others, maybe just a little flat in the way he's presented there through his heart and forerib. Wants to fall apart there behind his shoulder. Just one we need to open up, give him a shot more bulk and density to run with the one that wins. One that does a lot of things right in my mind. Good kind of calorie young lady's got here in her silver steer. It's going to be third. Good body level in terms of his lines and dimension. Still one that's got a good spread, the right kind of muscularity. For me, I just read him a little too plain in general in the way he's put together up front and here from the profile. And still one we need to amplify from a foot size and feature standpoint. Thought it was close to the young man steer coming out next. That's another good body, good kind of carcass steer that ought to hang really, really nicely on the rail. But then that's also one that's probably just a little bit overcooked from a condition standpoint. One is just a little plainer and staler in the way he's presented through and through. I want to square him up tracking away as well. Young man has done a really, really good job getting this calf hairy and awesome in terms of his presentation. You know, maybe of the sets, probably the shallowest bodied steer. That's just the fly that's the most closed up through and through. Hang in there, young man. You're doing a really, really good job. I can tell you tried awfully, awfully hard. Just kind of need to have more bulk on that calf today. So if you will, let's fire up the applause one more time. Good set of them. Very, very good winner.
Placings in Class 4 are as follows. In first place, Ronix Maddock with a purple. In second place, Lily Blank with a blue. In third place, JC Scholl with a red. In fourth place, Odin Bueller with a red. In fifth place, Hans Eidsinga with a red. Coming in the ring now, we have Class 5. We have Peyton Andrelewicz with a steer weighing 1338. Piper Lammy with a steer weighing 1349. Adeline Bueller with a steer weighing 1350. Tatum Osterberg with a steer weighing 1360. Tatum Molitor with a steer weighing 1366. And Gwen Shaw with a steer weighing 1369.
I know we got another class to go here in this Division II, but boy, am I looking forward to the drive. If they're going to keep coming looking like the young ladies up front. Oh, wow, that one's very, very good. You know, when she draws him right here from the side, there's your load. That one's maybe just a little bit mature in terms of his crest. When she gets his head jerked up like that, that's the kind of presence you want. That's the kind of top line and lines that you want here from the profile. And when you step off to the three-quarter, that one's certainly not shy of body shape and real dimension when you step right in behind it. But probably my favorite part, when we set him into motion, that one handles it awfully good there at the surface, like that one quite well. Certainly one that's going to be competitive when we get him back out here. I thought just as easily the young ladies kept here in second needed to follow suit. That one's got pieces that you certainly like. Rope neck, really big when you step right in behind him, wide, naturally wide in terms of his base, really dense in terms of his bone work. I think today probably falls just in a bit too many pieces for me. A little out on the point of the shoulder, a little flatter right behind it. Wants to break in his top line. And with that, when we set the cattle into motion, although I call him sound enough, gets a little wide in the way he tracks from behind, but certainly parts and pieces of that guy that I think are very, very good. Tough pair here coming in 3 and 4 for me. Thought the young lady's Gray Steer here that's going to wind up in third probably was just a little fresher when you got your hands on him. Probably was just a little bit more muscular down his top line and out of his upper hip, and did it with a better look up front, in relation to the ones ahead. Probably just a little bit more general there in the set to his rear leg, a little frailer there in terms of his foundation. One that's just a little rounder in the way he's put together. The one that does some things awfully good in my mind. Young lady Steer represents a good kind of cattle, moderate, chunky, really handles with some cover. And certainly probably catch some premiums to come his kill day. I think for that one, though, just a little staler in the way he's put together, just a little more closed up through and through. Got a pair of cattle around in the south. Off the young ladies, black and white here had just a shot more substance there to his rear rib and flank. Probably just needs to be a little bit stouter. Young ladies, red steer's going to close us out. One that certainly got some natural growth and performance, dead level in terms of his lines. Need to see him belly down and balance up just a little bit better to run any higher in this particular grouping of them. Another wicked good class winner. Look forward to seeing that one back out here. If you would, let's fire up the applause and show these young people our appreciation.
Placings in Class 5 are as follows. In first place, Gwen Shaw with the purple. In second place, Piper Lammy with the purple. In third place, Tatum Osterberg with the blue. In fourth place, Tatum Molitor with a blue. In fifth place, Peyton Andrewowicz with a red. And in sixth place, Adeline Bueller with a red. Now entering the ring, we have Class 6. We have Piper Lammy with the steer weighing 1379. Luella Fenner with the steer weighing 1381. Addison Maddock with the steer weighing 1384. Ava Shaw with the steer weighing 1389. Kelton Jensen with the steer weighing 1389. And Audrey Jenkins with the steer weighing 1398.
I know I already said it one time, but I'm certainly looking forward to the way this drive shapes up here in a second because it just kept coming. And the young ladies class winner here in this particular grouping of them is no different. I thought this one just won and rather handedly, in my opinion. I thought from this three quarters is best view. That one's body shape spread up high and from behind is very, very good. But still, that one underneath handles it very, very sound, very, very good in terms of the angles off either end of the skeleton. Although maybe just a little more conventional in his body length, I still think that one's perfect in terms of his balance and the way he pieces together here from the profile. Woman's certainly going to get a good look here in a second. Congratulations to that young lady. I think from the profile, the young lady's red steer coming second does a lot of things right. Love his head carriage and the way he's put together here from the side. Got a really up-headed, yet still his angles read true and right there underneath. Got a good body steer that really blends the balances like he needs to. Not in relation to the one off on either side of him. Just need to see that one just a little stouter. A little more concave in terms of his rib cage, a little more modest, and it's spread directly from behind, but still one whose silhouette and structure does a lot of things for me, in my opinion. Young man, has got a really muscular one coming out next. Really robust in terms of his rib cage, really opened up from end to end, and with that, so I think he ties his neck high to the top side of his blade. For me, it just gets a little bit rounder when we set him into motion. A little more forward in terms of his chest, a little rounder and steeper in terms of his hip, a little sharper and frailer in terms of his rear leg. Young lady's steer that's coming out next, one that you love in terms of his general foot size and flexibility there at the surface. That woman's got a good look there up front. Just one that we need to incorporate with just a little bit more bulk, a little bit more body and power through and through to run with the ones ahead of her. Young lady's doing a good job. Young lady Charlotte Steer coming out next, has a lot of growth and natural performance on his side. I think it works to his disadvantage here, though. Probably a kid that's just a little hollower in terms of his heart and forehead, wants to collapse in terms of his lower skeleton. The one that's still really high cutability, really creasy in terms of his muscle pattern. Young lady's chromed up steer coming out next. One that's really, really good bodied, really good in terms of his lines and flexibility. One that's probably just a little plain, a little stale, a little past his prime here today. Another good group of them, like we talked about, very, very excited to see the way this drive shapes up here in a second.
Placings in Class 6 are as follows. In first place, Addison Maddock with the purple. In second place, Ava Shaw with the purple. In third place, Kelton Jensen with the red. In fourth place, Piper Lammy with the red. In fifth place, Audrey Jenkins with the red. And in sixth place, Luella Fenner with a red. Entering the ring now, we have our middleweight division runoff. Representing Class 4, Ronix Maddock and Lily Blank. Class 5, Gwen Shaw and Piper Lammy. Class 6, Addison Maddock and Ava Shaw.
Well, if you will, let's put your hands together here as we get into your drive for the Division II of your steer show. You know, I've had the good fortune to getting to judge a couple of county fairs out in this part of the world here recently. It's probably as good of a drive as I've gotten to put together and evaluate once I've been out here. You know, I think each and every one of these class winners, if you load them up and bring them to the fair, you're certainly thinking you got a shot, and each and every one of these cattle do. You know, that's to take nothing away from the seconds on the other end of the ring. You know, maybe they all just need to be just a shot stouter and blend together just a little bit differently to be out here. So with that being said, we're going ahead and break down these frontline cattle just a little bit better for you. Like we talked about, the calf out of the first class, one you love, in terms of his just rib design. Love his density there in the center portion of his body, really smooth in the way he blends everything together here from the profile and balances very, very nicely. That last lap around, like we talked about there in class, is he just sound enough off his rear leg to go on ahead and be your champion here today? I don't know, but certainly one that's in the back of my mind here in contention for me. And the young ladies steer out of the second class, one that we just love in terms of his flexibility there at the surface. Big-footed steer that gets out and goes with plenty of comfort, yet still matches it. Bowl in his body shape, really, really stout when we step right in behind him. And although just a shot mature, like we talked about, his neck set, his head carriage allows him to show himself off very, very nicely here from the profile. I think that one that does a lot of things right for me, and is certainly on the forefront of my mind here. Then the young ladies steer that came out of the second class, like we talked about, dense, rugged, really massive type of steer that's opened up through and through, really, really stout, and yet still really, really sound when you're studying there at the surface. You know, just to get a little critical, when we can out here, you want your toe in, just a shot. No, wants a toe in, just a shot up front. Don't know if he's got quite the same look as the cattle right ahead of him, but one that certainly does a lot of things right. You know, so with that being said, I think there's one steer in here that's probably the stoutest, one that's probably just a little neater looking, and there's one that puts it all together for me. So if you would, let's fire up the applause one more time. I'll show you my two favorites.
Champion middleweight goes to Gwen Shaw. Reserve champion middleweight goes to Addison Maddock. Coming into the ring now, we have Class 7, our first heavyweight class. We have Owen Blandford with a steer weighing 1403, Quinlan King with a steer weighing 1409, Gwen Shaw with a steer weighing 1418, Hans Eidzinga with a steer weighing 1419, Addison Maddock with a steer weighing 1428, and Ava Shaw with a steer weighing 1430.
A trio of them on the top end of this class that certainly do some very, very good things. I thought the one that combined the cattle in 2 and 3 to the highest order is the young lady Shorthorn Marks here. That's going to go on ahead and win this particular grouping of them. I thought that kid was really opened up and busted open there and from behind and still put it together with a really good look up front. And still, when we ask him to go out and travel, the angle to his shoulder is very, very good and gets out and goes really, really loose and limber off his rear leg. Like that one, a good deal. Congratulations to that young lady. The kid that's going to go on ahead and be in second certainly is probably just a nickel boulder in the way he turns there through his lower rib and heart and get your hands on. Got a lot of shape and dimension on the top side of his skeleton. Another stout for a stout steer. Still gets out and goes relatively well there off his rear leg. I thought when push came to shove, it ran just a little plainer, just a little staler in the way he's presented up through his crest and down through his chest and still won. The wicked wedge just a little differently in terms of his shoulder. I like to dial down his tailhead too. That's getting off the critical on one. I think it does a lot of things right. Standing still, the young lady's calf in third, one you have to appreciate in terms of his look up front. Got a really crib shape right on the top side of his skeleton. Still a really, really high cut-ability kid. When you step around behind him, when push came to shove, just didn't think he was sound enough to run with the cattle ahead of him. A little too straight up front, a little frailer and rigid in terms of his rear leg, but still one that has a lot of parts and pieces that fire me up. Young man Siri that's coming next got a great look here from the profile, dead level in terms of his top line. Love his lines here from the side. Just thought he ran out of steam when he stepped right in behind him. Flatter mates here, just a little too closed up through and through. Young man's got a good kind of carcass gift coming out next. Moderate, big body, and certainly good and full in terms of his indicators. A little too plain, a little too round in the way he's presented here from the profile. Young lady's got a good high-performing steer. It's going to go on ahead and close us out. I need to incorporate him. It's just a shot more bulk, just a shot more body and bone around what's ahead of us. But still, another good group of them, and certainly some challenge on the top end.
Placings in Class 7. In first place, we have Ava Shaw with the purple. In second place, Addison Maddock with the purple. In third place, Gwen Shaw with the purple. In fourth place, Hans Eitzinga with a red. In fifth place, Owen Blandford with a red. And in sixth place, Quinlan King with a red. Entering the ring now, we have Class 8, Mackenzie Gregory with a steer weighing 1439, Aurora Reynolds with a steer weighing 1453, Harrison Eitzinga with a steer weighing 1468, Waverly Millard with a steer weighing 1469, McKinley Archer with a steer weighing 1508, and Clayson Nye with a steer weighing 1523.
Good trio of cattle that surface towards the top for me, and still with that, and the young lady steer up front wins and does so rather handily in my mind. I think he combines the cattle in second and third. I think he puts together kind of the look and balance aspects of the KIF in second and the power aspects of the 1 and third in the most complete package. I think that's a really smooth made, dense rib kind of steer. It's got the right kind of power when you step right in behind him. Although he can get a little weird in terms of his ankle and rear leg at times, still think that one's angles and natural build reads quite right. Maybe we could hook him up a little differently on the backside of his shoulder and freshen him up front, but I still think one fundamentally does a lot of things right. I think it's tough to split the cattle in second and third for me. Not the one that I ended up electing to go second. I just prefer here from the profile and probably when we set the cattle into motion. A little neater in the way he's presented up front, a little longer and leveler out of his hip, which allows him to get out and go just a little bit more comfortably, in that of the top trio. That's probably the flattest sided series, the most closed up through and through. Just need to power him up a bit. And the young lady's calf here in third is certainly has no shortage of power. That's a big top, thick-ended steer that's got loaded with shape and red meat. When we set the cattle into motion, I think that one's probably the most rigid, the most upright up front, the tightest when we're watching track away of that initial trio. Got a good kind of calf coming out in the young man's black and white steer. Good body, practical in the way he's put together, probably just a little bit plainer in the way he's put together from the side. Want to redirect the way his hind leg gets going away. Young lady's doing a good job with the Hereford steer here coming out next. Anyways, doing an awesome job. The Hereford steer coming out of that. That's another good body, productive steer who, generally speaking, gets out and goes rather well. So I think one that's just a little staler in the way he's put together, a little plainer out of his hip and down through his rear leg. Young man's doing a good job hanging with his black steer here. It's going to end up rounding us out. Another good body, practical, productive type of steer. It's just a little overcooked from a condition standpoint. Runs out of bone, body, and bulk. Just remember what's ahead. Another good group of them. Another good class winner.
Placings in Class 8. In first place, we have Waverly Millard with the steer weighing 1469 with a purple ribbon. In second place, we have Harrison Idzingo with a blue. In third, Mackenzie Gregory with a blue. In fourth, Clayson Nye with a red. In fifth, McKinley Archer with a red. And in sixth, Aurora Reynolds with a red. Entering the ring now, we have Class 9. We have Emma Shaw with a steer weighing 1528. Ariel Rivera with a steer weighing 1529. Hazen Idzinga with a steer weighing 1552. Kaysen Hart with a steer weighing 1562. McKinley Archer with a steer weighing 1566. And Mac Nye with a steer weighing 1593.
Another good group here as we start creeping up heavier into the weight class here. And then with that being said, I think these two cattle up front are probably just the freshest in the way they handle and probably just the freshest in the way they're put together here from the profile. And with that, I thought the young man's calf here, red and white steer, was just a little sounder in the way he's put together up front. And watch him as these tracks off his rear leg just a little bit looser in the way his hock flexes just got a little bit more set there to his rear pasture, and still, when the young man gets him drawn up here for the side, gets you a good look of balance, a good look of symmetry. Nice place to start. Probably the stouter options, the young lady's kept that's going to come in second, probably is just a little rounder in terms of his body shape, a little stouter up high and from behind. But with that being said, I read him just a little too upright off either end of his skeleton. As much heat as he has up high, I wish he accommodated it with just a little bigger bend to your back leg, but still one whose power parts are certainly commendable here in this particular grouping of them. A good practical kind of steer the young man's got here coming in third. Moderate, big-bodied, easy feeding type of steer. The young man's done a great job getting to his endpoint. In relation to the cattle ahead, I read him just a little overcooked. From a condition standpoint, I want to make him just a little stouter. I want to allow him to balance up just a little bit better. A lot of the same can be said about the young man's steer coming next. Big-bodied, opened up, and powerful. I need to alter his structure a little bit. A little over in terms of his knee, tighter in terms of his spine, just rounder in the way he's put together from the profile. Want to freshen him up a bit too. Thought it was a close pair there on the bottom end of things. Thought the young lady's steer just a little bit broader out of the backside of his shoulder, a little stouter over his loin edge, and a little better in terms of his body type. Still wants a taper to his pins, gets a little restricted on the go. Young man's steer that's going to round us out. One who is probably just a little sounder, is just a little bigger footed, probably just runs out of gas when you step out of behind him. Another good group of them. Look forward to getting into the drive.
Placings in Class 9. In first place, Hazen Idzinga with the blue. In second place, Emma Shaw with the blue. In third place, Mac Nye with the red. In fourth place, Ariel Rivera with a red. In fifth place, McKinley Archer with a red. And in sixth place, Kason Hart with a red. Entering the ring now, we have Class 10, our last class of the day. Clay Hart with a steer weighing 1808. And Joaquin De La Cruz with a steer weighing 1833.
Well, what a great way to end the day with a pair of cattle that probably are just more alike than they are different, And at this big heavy weight, I think both of them handle their structure rather well for cattle that are pushing, almost 2,000 pounds. But with that being said, in this comparison, I think the young man steer up front, reading just a little stouter in the way he's put together down the top side of his skeleton, just a little more opened up in terms of his upper hip and down through his stifle, probably just a little denser in terms of his rib cage as well. But probably in a perfect world, we can peel him down from a condition standpoint, but I still think one that does a lot of things right. On the contrary, young man steer that's going to go on and be second probably is just a little neater looking the way he's presented up front. Probably is just a little longer and leveler out of his hip. With that being said, read that guy just a little flatter in terms of his body shape, a little more closed up when we step right in behind him. But a good pair of cattle, they're going to look awfully good when we get to the drive here in a little bit. So if you would, let's fire up the applause and show these young men our appreciation.
Placings in Class 10. In first place, Clay Hart. In second place, Joaquin De La Cruz. In the ring now, we have our heavyweight runoff. Representing Class 7, we have Ava Shaw and Addison Maddock. Representing Class 8, we have Waverly Millard and Harrison Idzinga. Representing Class 9, Hazen Idzinga and Emma Shaw. And representing Class 10, Clay Hart and Joaquin De La Cruz.
If you will, let's congratulate these young exhibitors out of your Division III drive with a round of applause. A very, very good division that was very, very deep all the way across the board. And with that, I thought the pair out of them, out of the first class, were very, very challenging, and certainly Ty, in that particular pair, I thought the young lady Shorthorn still were just a little neater looking, and fresher in the way he's presented up front, and still had the right kind of power when you stepped right in behind him and got out and traveled with lots of authority. In a perfect world, we can make him just a shot more shapely when you handle him right out of the backside of his shoulder, but I still think that one balances and so has plenty of power to run here in this particular drive. Young lady steer that was second to him, one that was just a little denser in the way he handles down the top side of his skeleton, a little stouter, and when you step right in and study his upper hip and down through his stifle and still handle it relatively sound when we set him in a motion, where I drew the line for me, I thought up front, just a little plainer in the way he's presented, little coarser there at the edge of his shoulder. Young lady steer out of the second class, certainly very fundamental. That's like big body, dense rib type of steer. That handles it really, really balanced here from a profile. And, like we talked about in class, maybe a little awkward in the way he hits his ankle at times, maybe a little plain and mature in the way he's presented up front, but still one who's fundamentally very, very good. Second place to him, there's a tough pair between second and third. Thought this one was just a little neater looking, a little longer and leveler out of his hip and sounder in the way he got out and win. Reason he was second, probably not just as bold, not quite as dense, the Kip that wins that class. I got a good steer that was going to go that won the next class in the young man's red baldy. That's a good body, practical type of steer that won because he was the soundest when we set the cattle into motion. As we get back out here, probably just a little plainer in the way he's presented up through his head, neck, and chest. Need to amp him up from a power standpoint ever so slightly. The young man's doing an awesome job getting a good calf shown. The calf that was second to him probably is just a little stouter, bolder bodied, and more opened up through and through. Didn't think he was just as sound. Didn't think he balanced quite like the calf that wins. Then we got a good pair of cattle here out of the last class, like we talked about, more alike than they are different. I thought the young man here that won that class was just a little stouter. Like we talked about, I thought that pair out of the first class, was very, very close. I think those are my two favorites in this particular division. I'm going to congratulate these two young ladies up front, Champion Reserve.
Champion in the heavyweight division goes to Ava Shaw, with reserve going to Addison Maddock. We will host our final drive in the fair building at 6:30 p.m. tonight. The order goes horse, hogs, chickens, sheep, steers, then goats. And we will be having our bucket calf show in this ring at 5:30 p.m.